You shouldn't be out here. Neither should you. Maxime.
He's your brother. I'm marrying him tomorrow. 14 hours from now, I am walking down that aisle and your whole family will be watching.
I know.
Then say something that makes this easier. Tell me I'm being ridiculous. Tell me nothing is happening here. Maxime, he trusts you. He loves you. You're his sister and I'm supposed to be—
I know what you're supposed to be.
Then how are you just standing there looking at me like—
Tell me to walk back inside. Lulu, tell me to walk away and I will, right now, I swear. I've been trying to tell myself that since the moment you walked through that door.
The thing about planning a perfect life is that it works until it doesn't. I'd been engaged to Derek Ashford for 14 months. The ring fit perfectly, the venue was booked, my dress was hanging in a garment bag in our Chicago apartment, waiting. I had a spreadsheet for the seating chart, color-coded, obviously, and a backup plan for rain. I was ready. So why, 3 days before my wedding, was I standing in the Ashford estate bathroom, gripping the sink, giving myself a pep talk in the mirror like I was about to go into surgery? You love him, I said it to my reflection. You're happy. My reflection didn't argue. It also didn't look convinced. I heard Derek downstairs laughing at something his mother said, that big, easy laugh that had charmed me at a friend's dinner party 2 years ago. I smiled at the sound. See? Happy. I went downstairs. The first time I saw Maxime, she was arguing with a taxi driver about her luggage. Everyone else was already inside. Derek's mother, Patricia, had been orchestrating the rehearsal dinner for 3 days like a very refined military campaign. The caterers moved in straight lines, the flowers were perfect, and through the front window, I watched a woman in a worn leather jacket drag 2 duffel bags out of a cab while gesturing emphatically with one hand, laughing at something the driver said, then tipping him more than the fare. She took the front steps 2 at a time. Derek lit up beside me. That's Max. He said it the way you say, finally. She walked through the door and the room did something. Not dramatically, nobody gasped or went quiet. It was subtler than that, more like the air pressure changed slightly. She was tall, dark-eyed, with the kind of face that looked like it had been places. She scanned the room once and found Derek, crossing to him in 4 strides and pulling him into a hug that lifted him slightly off the ground. "You're late," Derek said, muffled in her shoulder. "Plane was delayed." She pulled back, held his face in both hands, looked at him seriously. "You look nervous." "I'm not nervous." "You have your nervous mouth." She turned to me, and I, stupidly for absolutely no reason, took a half step back. "You must be Lulu." She didn't extend her hand immediately, just looked at me with this direct, unhurried attention that made me feel like I was being read. Then she smiled and offered her hand. "I've heard a lot." "All good things," Derek said. "Mostly," she said, and winked at me. I laughed, genuinely, this surprised little sound, and then felt annoyed that I had. Dinner was beautiful and loud, and Derek's mother made 3 separate toasts. I sat between Derek and his college roommate and smiled until my face ached pleasantly. Maxime sat across the table, mostly quiet, eating with the focused efficiency of someone who'd spent a long time eating bad food in bad conditions and still appreciated a real meal. At one point, I glanced over and she was watching me. Not creepily, more like she was trying to figure something out. She looked away first. Later, during the dessert course, she appeared at my elbow, just materialized there, plate in hand. The mousse is better than it looks, which is unfair because it already looks great. "How long have you been back in the States?" I asked. 9 days. She said it without ceremony. Colombia before that, 4 months. "Photographing?" "Mm-hmm." She took a bite of mousse and made a quiet, satisfied sound. "Derek said you're a landscape architect." "Yeah." "Do you love it?" Not, "How long have you been doing it?" or "That sounds interesting." "Do you love it?" "Most days," I said honestly. She nodded like that was the right answer and not a deflection. "Most days is good. Some people can't say that much." I meant to say something else. Instead, I said, "Are you excited to be here?" She looked at me, a small, unguarded look. "Ask me in 3 days." Then she touched her glass lightly to mine and drifted back to her seat. I was brushing my teeth when I heard it. Our room shared a thin wall with the upstairs study, and Maxime's voice came through low and clear. She was on the phone, the door obviously not fully shut. "I'm saying she's not what I expected, that's all." A pause. "No, Derek, I see it. I'm just saying, are you sure she—" Silence while she listened. "Okay," she said finally, flat. "Okay. Yeah." She hung up. I stood there with toothpaste on my lips, a slow, cold feeling spreading through my chest. She's not what I expected? Are you sure she? Sure what? Was good enough? Was right for him? Did she fly in from Colombia with luggage and opinions about Derek's choices? I spat, rinsed, and went to bed. Derek was already asleep, one arm thrown out towards my side of the mattress. I lay down next to him and stared at the ceiling and told myself it didn't matter what Maxime thought of me. The ceiling offered no opinion. I eventually slept. Badly. The day before my wedding should have felt like something magical, maybe, or at least significant. Instead, I spent most of it holding a clipboard, mediating a standoff between the florist and Patricia Ashford over centerpiece heights, while Derek got pulled from room to room like a man on a very pleasant leash. By 3 in the afternoon, I hadn't spoken to him alone for 6 hours. I found a quiet spot behind the rose garden and sat on a stone bench with my heels off, rubbing one foot against the other. The grass was cool. The sky was doing something gorgeous that I wasn't really seeing. "You look like you're calculating something." I didn't jump. I almost did. Maxime dropped onto the other end of the bench, uninvited, a bottle of water in her hand, jacket off, sleeves rolled up. "Just thinking," I said. "About tomorrow?" "About the centerpieces, actually." She made a sound. Not quite a laugh, more like a quiet exhale of recognition. "That sounds about right for this family." I should have gotten up. Instead, I said, "How do you do it? Being away from all of this for a year and then just walking back into it." She thought about that, honestly, which I was starting to understand was just how she operated. "You stop expecting it to feel like home," she said. "Then it stops disappointing you." That sat between us for a second. "That's sad," I said. "Little bit," she agreed, and took a drink of water. We stayed there. The garden smelled like late summer and something floral I couldn't name. I noticed I wasn't calculating anything anymore. It was almost 5 when I heard them. I'd gone inside for a glass of water and was passing the study when Derek's voice came through the half-open door, low and tense in a way I'd never heard before. "You should have said something, Max, before now." "I'm saying it now." Maxime, quieter but firm. "It's the night before." "I know when it is, Derek. That's why I'm saying it now instead of never." A pause. "She deserves the truth. Both of you do." I stood in the hallway with my hand around a glass of ice water, not breathing. "You don't know what you're talking about," Derek said. His voice had gone soft in that particular way that meant he absolutely knew. "I know what I see." Silence. I walked away before either of them could open the door. I avoided Maxime for the next 3 hours so deliberately it was practically athletic. Dinner, toasts, Patricia's passive-aggressive comments about the rehearsal timing, I smiled through all of it with my jaw slightly clenched, refilling my wine more than necessary. Every time Maxime glanced across the table, I looked at my plate. She's been working an angle since she arrived. That was the story I was building, befriending me, studying me, reporting back to Derek about whether I'm adequate. It made sense. It was tidy. I held onto it. After dinner, I slipped outside onto the side porch. The air was sharp, and I pressed my bare arms against it, grateful for the sting. Footsteps behind me. "I know you heard us."
I turned around. Maxime was leaning in the doorway, arms crossed, watching me with that infuriating steadiness. I don't know what you're talking about. Lulu, I'm fine. You've said maybe 40 words at dinner, and you haven't looked at me once. She stepped outside, letting the door close behind her. Whatever you heard it wrong. I heard enough. My voice came out sharper than I intended. Then explain it. She was quiet for a moment, just watching me with those dark, steady eyes. Then, Derek knows he doesn't make you happy. She said it like she was reading something off a page, factual, careful. That's what we were talking about, not stopping the wedding. He's been sitting with that knowledge for months and hasn't had the courage to ask you about it. A beat. I was telling him he should. The porch light hummed. Somewhere inside, someone laughed loudly at something. That's not, I started. I'm not your enemy, Lulu. I never said you were. You've been treating me like one since last night. I opened my mouth, closed it. The honest answer was trapped somewhere behind my sternum, pressing outward. I swallowed a gown. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. I walked past her. She didn't try to stop me, but just as I reached the door, she said quietly, "Ask yourself something tonight." I stopped, hand on the frame. If I was wrong, if Derek absolutely makes you happy, why did what I said land that hard? I went inside. I did not sleep.
Midnight finds me on the back porch with a glass of red wine I've barely touched. My bare feet on cold stone, the wedding 14 hours away. I told the bachelorette group I had a headache. It wasn't entirely a lie. The garden was dark except for the string lights someone had wound through the hedges for tomorrow's reception. They buzzed softly. Everything smelled like roses and damp grass, and the particular stillness of a night that doesn't know yet what it's about to mean. I heard the door behind me. I didn't turn around. I knew the sound of those footsteps now. Maxime sat beside me on the wide porch step, close enough that our shoulders almost touched. She had a glass of water. She didn't say anything for a long moment, just looked out at the dark garden the same way I was. "Couldn't sleep?" she finally asked. "Haven't tried yet." She nodded, accepted that. "Me neither," she said. "Never could sleep before something big." "Is tomorrow big for you?" She looked at me sideways. "Aren't you tired of pretending things aren't what they are?" I laughed, short, surprised, a little helpless. Yeah, I kinda was. We talked for a long time. Not about the wedding, not about Derek, just talked. She told me about Colombia, about a woman she'd photographed in a doorway holding a child, about how she'd sat in a Bogota airport for 11 hours afterward and couldn't open her camera bag. "I have 3 months of work I haven't looked at," she said, "just sitting on a hard drive." "Why?" She turned the glass of water in her hand slowly. "Because I'm scared they're too good. That if I look, I'll have to reckon with what it costs to get them." Something about that cracked me open a little. I took a real sip of wine. I designed my whole life when I was 24. On a legal pad, actually. Career, timeline, relationship. Checked every single box. I paused. I don't know when I stopped asking if I still wanted the boxes. "What do you want?" "I don't know." "Yes, you do." I looked at her. She wasn't pushing. She just looked steady, like someone who'd learned to hold difficult things without flinching. "I want to feel the way I feel right now, talking to you, like the air isn't thin." Maxime set her glass down carefully on the step. The silence that followed had weight. Not uncomfortable, almost unbearable in the other direction. Too full, pressing outward. When she leaned in, I didn't move away. Her hand came up slowly to my jaw, and she paused there, half an inch away, giving me every chance to make a different choice. I made the distance myself. The kiss was soft at first, questioning, Then her fingers slid into my hair, and it wasn't soft anymore. It was everything I hadn't let myself name for 3 days, all of it at once, and I made a sound against her mouth that I didn't recognize as myself until after. We stayed outside until the string lights started to feel like they were just for us. I woke to gray morning light and the distant sound of a caterer's van on the gravel drive. Maxime was asleep beside me, one arm loose around my waist, her breathing deep and even. She looked younger like this, unguarded. I lay there for exactly 90 seconds. Then I got up, found my shoes, and walked back to the main house. The bridal suite was warm and bright and full of women who loved me. My college roommate pinned my veil with steady hands. Derek's cousin refilled my mimosa. His mother held my face and said, "You look absolutely perfect, sweetheart." I smiled. I think it looked real. Through the window, I watched Maxime cross the lawn in her charcoal suit, hands in her pockets, head down. She didn't look up at the house. She was so careful not to look up at the house. A knock at the door. Derek's voice, soft. "Can I have 5 minutes?" Everyone cleared out with tactful speed. He came in, closed the door, and looked at me. Really looked, the way someone who's been bracing for something. His expression didn't crumble, it just settled, quietly, into something that had clearly been waiting. "Lulu," he said, and I started crying before I could say a single word. He crossed the room and sat beside me and didn't reach for my hands and didn't look away. "Tell me," he said gently. The wedding did not happen. Derek told his mother first. I don't know what he said or how long it took, but 20 minutes later, the coordinator was quietly redirecting guests toward the garden brunch, and Patricia Ashford was moving through the estate with the controlled expression of a woman disarming a bomb in heels. Nobody screamed. Nobody made a scene. The Ashfords were too well-mannered for that, which almost made it worse. I sat in the bridal suite for a long time after everyone cleared out, still in the dress because I hadn't thought that far ahead. The veil was on the vanity. The mimosas were still cold. Outside the window, I could hear the gentle pivot of an expensive event becoming a different expensive event, and I felt like I was watching it from very far away. Derek found me before he left to change. He stood in the doorway looking tired in a specific way. Not angry tired, just done tired, like he'd finally put down something heavy. He looked at me in the dress and exhaled slowly through his nose. "You okay?" he asked. I laughed. It came out a little broken. "No, are you?" "Not really." He came and sat beside me on the small settee, elbows on his knees. I meant what I said earlier. I knew something was off. I kept thinking if we just got to the wedding, got past the planning and the family and the noise, it would... He stopped, shook his head. I don't know what I thought. "Derek, I'm so sorry." "Stop apologizing. Not harsh, just firm. I need you to not do that right now." I pressed my lips together, nodded. He was quiet for a moment. Then, "Is it her? Maxime?" I didn't look away. "I don't know what it is yet. I just know I couldn't stand at that altar knowing last night happened and pretend..." "Yeah," he rubbed the back of his neck. "Yeah, I know." He stood, straightened his jacket out of pure habit, and looked down at me with something that was sad and genuine and completely without cruelty. "Be honest with yourself, Lulu. Whatever happens, just don't do what I did and wait too long to ask the hard question." He walked out. I sat there for another minute, then I went to find Maxime. She was in the rose garden. Of course she was. Same bench, like the universe had a sense of composition. She'd taken the jacket off. She was sitting forward, forearms on her knees, staring at the ground. She looked up when she heard me coming, and something moved across her face that she didn't bother hiding. "You're still in the dress," she said. "I haven't had a chance to think about that yet." She nodded slowly. Her jaw was tight. "You left this morning," she said. "I know, Maxime. I panicked. I woke up and the sun was out and caterers and I pressed my hand over my sternum.
I didn't know how to hold all of it at once. So you ran. Yes. She was quiet. A muscle in her jaw worked. I'm not angry, she said finally, and I believed her. I'm scared. There's a difference. She turned to face me fully. I don't need you to have everything figured out. I genuinely don't. But I need you to stop disappearing when it gets real. I'm here, right now. You're here right now, she repeated, testing the weight of it. Maxime, I reached over and put my hand on hers. She looked down at it. Her hand turned over and held mine. Her grip was warm and certain. No, she said quietly, it really wasn't. We sat there in the garden, with the string lights still wound through the hedges from a wedding that didn't happen, and for the first time in longer than I could name, I wasn't thinking about the plan. I wasn't calculating anything. I was just here, completely. She lifted our joined hands slightly, looked at them, then at me. So what now? She asked. I thought about Derek's card, which I wouldn't receive for another 6 months, but somehow already felt the spirit of. I thought about the legal pad at 24 and every box I'd checked since. I have no idea, I said honestly. She smiled, slow, real, a little tired. Neither do I. That was, somehow, exactly enough. 6 months later, I'm standing in a Brooklyn gallery watching strangers cry in front of Maxime's photographs. She finds me from across the room the same way she always does, like gravity. Her hand finds the small of my back. She murmurs, "The woman in the corner, Sao Paulo series, 20 minutes. I see her, I say. She kisses my temple. I lean in. On our refrigerator at home, a card in Derek's handwriting. Be good to each other. D. We intend to.